video demonstrates the basic signal flow of the SSL's channel in inline tracking mode. First, I'll go over the high-level flow of the signal through the channel, then I'll show examples of the SSL in action. As a reminder, each channel on the SSL console can have its own mode. There are 3 possible modes: inline tracking, inline mixing, and stereo. This video covers inline tracking. In this diagram, up in the top left, there is a sound source, and that is going through a mic. That is then being fed into the SSL channel strip. And a reminder, we're looking at when the channel strip is in inline tracking mode. In inline tracking mode, the channel has 2 signal paths: a record path, shown here on the left, and a monitor path, shown here on the right. First, input signal flows down the record path of the channel. The monitor path is what gets sent to your main monitor mix and your speakers. The fader, and there's a little image here, the fader on your channel is how you control the level that you are sending from your monitor path out to your main monitor section and your speakers. This monitor path can be sourced from one of 2 different places. You can either source it from the record path if you want input monitoring, or you can source it from the DAW if you want output monitoring. You choose the source using the channel's return button. The return button is an unassuming little button that doesn't draw attention to itself, but is the key to hearing your signal when you are tracking. Think of return as return from your DAW. When the button is not pressed, input signal flows down the record path of the channel and out to 2 places: the DAW and the monitor path of your channel. You use the little V pot on the channel to control the level you're sending to both of these destinations. Take note, if you don't turn this little V pot up, you're not going to get anything in your DAW, and you're not going to get anything to the monitor path, and you won't hear anything. When the return button is pressed, the input signal flows down the record path and out to the DAW only. Then the output from the DAW gets sent back in to the monitor path of the channel. And then, repeating what I said earlier, from there you just use the fader to adjust the level you want to send to your main monitor section. Let's go into some examples. For our first example on how the return button works in inline tracking mode, we're going to start with just getting levels set up. So you've got a musician playing either in the live room or here in the control room, which is what I'm going to do today. And you haven't started recording yet, you're just getting levels. I've got this keyboard connected to an outboard preamp, and you can see that I've got the preamp out patched into the SSL line 1L, which in tracking mode means that it's patched into the input side of the channel, because as we know, every channel on the board has 2 paths. And when we're in tracking mode, we have the input path and then we have the monitor path. And those are shown on left and right meters. but you don't hear that on left and right speakers. You just see it that way in the meter. It makes it handy. So here we are on this channel. You can see I've got it set up for line mode, and I've got the gain at a medium amount, and over here I've got this channel on the mix bus, and that's the one we're monitoring, and it's in tracking mode. And right now I don't have the return button pressed. It's not green. And if I press here on my keyboard, we can see something over on the input meter on the left side, but we can't hear anything yet. We can see something, of course, also on our preamp. So if we want to be able to hear that, the first thing we're going to want to do is turn up this VPOT. There we go. Okay, so as you can see up here, there's now something happening on the right meter, and that is because we don't have the return button pressed, and therefore the signal that's flowing down the input side that we see on the left meter is being sent over to the monitor side, which is the right meter, and that's what we hear. Okay, if I press this and turn the return button on, that means we want to be able to source from ProTools. And you can see something on the left meter, but now nothing on the right meter. So let's go look at what I have set up in ProTools. I've got this one track that I have set to input 1, output 2, and I've chosen the I/O for Studio B, which maps the input to the 1L and the output to the 1R. And then that is mapped over here to channel 1. So I have it set up, but I don't have it armed yet. So let me go ahead and arm that. Okay, so now we're armed, and if I come back over here and press on the keyboard, we start to see signal on that right meter, and we hear it too. So now this return button is getting the signal from ProTools, and I can go ahead and turn off the return button as well. So this time what we saw on the right meter there was coming from the input side. So it would be like input monitoring. And then when we press this return button, we are getting signal now from the output side coming from ProTools. So it's going through that analog to digital conversion and the digital to analog conversion. So you might, if you're someone who hears delay on that, you might figure out how to work input monitoring instead. The next thing I want to point out is if you decide to bypass the SSL altogether, so if we come over here and we change our patch, and instead of going into the SSL, we're just going to go straight into ProTools in number 1. And in doing that, I'm going to come here and unpress the return button. I'm pressing my keyboard, but you can see there's nothing happening on either meter, and that is because the return button is not pressed. And so because of that, nothing is being sent to the monitor side because nothing's coming in down the input side. We've bypassed this channel. The input side has nothing, and therefore, without the return button pressed, the monitor side has nothing as well. So we can push the return button, turn that on. So as we would expect, now we do see something in the right meter. We can hear it because it is going out to ProTools and then coming back in to the channel down the monitor side. For the next step in our example, I'm going to start recording. Come over here to Pro Tools and start recording. You can see Pro Tools is recording, and I'm going to come over to the keyboard and I'm going to start. Okay, so signal is coming in. The return button is not pressed. So that right meter, the monitor path, is being sourced by the input path. I set my patch back so that my preamp output is going into 1L. So we are using the input side of this channel. And you can see it went out to Pro Tools. And I can also press the return button. Same thing, we're getting signal, but this time the signal on the monitor side is not coming from our input side, it's coming from after Pro Tools. I'm going to stop this. So we're finished, and now we want to hear what we recorded. So I'm going to loop play this. With the return button pressed, we can hear it. It's coming from Pro Tools. We're playing back what we just heard from Pro Tools. If I unpress the return button, there it is, pressed, unpressed. We hear nothing because nothing is coming down the input side. You can see that left meter there has nothing on it. We're not playing this at this moment. We're merely playing back what we just recorded. So there's nothing on the input side. So by not having the return button pressed, we're sending to the monitor side what's on the input side, which is nothing, and we hear nothing. Press that again, and now it's working as expected. I want to mention a couple things over here on the TFT screen when we're in tracking mode. Over here on our channel 1, which is selected, come over here to the TFT screen, and you can see we're in inline tracking mode. You can see that AutoM and SQ are not turned on. They're not yellow. That toggles it on and off. It's not on. AutoM takes control of the return button, and there's a separate video for how to use that. You can see here that when the return button is not pressed, this second path, the monitor path, is coming from, when you see it just starting green like this, that's just saying that it's coming from Pro Tools. If we go over here and we turn the return button off, now the beginning of our monitor path says CHOP, and it's red like the input path. And CHOP stands for channel output. And the SSL calls the signal that flows down the input side and then out to Pro Tools, they call that the channel output. So when we don't have the return button pressed, that signal is going out to Pro Tools, and it's also coming over to the monitor side. And that's why this says CHOP.